play with the wrappers. Okay, we're ready to go. Hurry up.
Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what? I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people.
Right.
You want people to care. You want to strike emotions. And I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one
quarter
too.
pounder with cheese in France, Mickey. What? Royale with cheese. Yeah. I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice that my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey everyone, you're listening to Superhero Speak, and I'm your host Dave.
And I'm plagued, John.
And this week, boys and girls, JD is off because we want to talk about Daredevil in detail, and he is too busy with writing and doing actual stuff to watch the show.
He's being productive. Productive. That's the word you're looking for, is productive.
So what we did is we brought in a very special co-host for this episode. You might know him from the Super Powered Fancast. And of course, the one and only Deron. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. Good to know that I was less productive enough to so while your other co-host is off doing adult things.
Yeah, well, I mean, he has a day job. He does coach high school wrestling, and then he writes, and then he has a 4-year-old. And
gotcha.
Yeah, so yeah, I remember those days. Then I stopped caring.
Oh.
Well, I'm kind of still in the midst of those days. Like I got the day job. I do the writing like daily, and then I got two. I got a 4-year-old and a 12-year-old. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm dealing with the 12-year-old boy. Trying to find a way to sit down and have that talk with him.
To talk about where real comic books come from?
Well, no, the important one, Marvel versus DC. You know?
Oh, of course. That's when he becomes a man.
Exactly.
My son's 16. I'm still waiting for him to have the talk with me. But you know what? For those who maybe have not listened to the Superpowered Fancast, why don't you take a moment here to tell our listeners about it and where they can find it?
Well, I mean, Superpowered Fancast is my podcast. Is also my website, so you can always find it. Which is updated daily at superpoweredfancast.com. And you can find the podcast where I talk about geek news and reviews on. You can find it on iTunes and Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Cool. And you do some pretty good interviews, too.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I've been lucky. I've been really lucky where I can sit down with people like Scott Snyder from DC Comics and the guys behind Lego Star Wars, Freemaker Adventures. My episode 50 was at Dragon Con this year, so got to do a press conference interview with Brian Henson and talked about the Dark Crystal series coming to Netflix. So yeah, I've been really lucky. I'm trying to line up some new interviews coming up to see who I can talk to before the end of the year.
I think it was nice. I think it was your Scott Snyder interview that caught my attention for your show. So yeah.
Oh yeah. We did because I think we did like an interview a month for about a good 4 or 5 months, and we're still right now we're trying to get back into doing that, but he's got so much on his plate right now that I'm just dude, I'll forego talking about the stuff so that you have time to just go and write the stuff.
Right. Cool. Cool. So, all right, that's awesome. And of course, John, you're sick. You have any other news you'd like to share with the audience?
Do I have news? Was that in an email I missed? Did I miss another email? No.
Just what have you been up to?
No news. Just can't wait to talk about the spooky adventures of Sabrina.
Oh, you're on the wrong podcast.
Okay, right. Okay, Castlevania. Got it. All right. So we can talk about the Castlevania. You know, there's just been a lot of stuff coming out on Netflix lately.
Yeah.
You know, there was like a couple of weeks back, I'm like thinking, there's nothing to watch. You know, started digging into my list of authors so I could see if they had any new books I could read. This weekend, it's like, oh my God, I've got to finish Daredevil for this. Then they've got the new Castlevania, which I've been waiting a year for, and then the Sabrina thing, which actually looked interesting, and I did watch the first 2 episodes of that, and it really is interesting. So, you know, the Castlevania animated series is awesome too.
Yeah.
That one goes really quick. I watched that one 2 nights ago.
I heard the second season is actually a lot better than the first as well.
It is. Well, the first was like a teaser season. Mm-hmm. It was just to see how it would go. It was only 4 episodes.
Right.
This one was 13, I think.
Oh, okay.
And it's awesome. And the episodes are only 28 minutes long each.
Right.
So it's not like Daredevil where, okay, so let's just make sure I don't have to use the bathroom for the whole weekend. And yeah, so a lot of good stuff coming out.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm with you. I've been like my queue's been blowing up. I've been I was so immersed in Haunting of Hill House.
Oh, I've heard about that one too.
Oh, that whole series is just amazing from start to finish, and it's not even just and beyond the story, just the visuals are amazing. Just everything about it is so immersive and a really good story, just a really good family story, a really classic haunted house story. Like I loved it. I loved every episode. I think there were maybe a couple of maybe one episode that ran a little slow for me, but everything the way it progressed and just told the story from everyone's perspective, I really enjoyed it. I really want a season 2 of that.
Oh,
now
cool.
that was based on the original movie. There was a 1959 original movie by
James Whale.
James Whale. Okay, and that was supposedly really, really good from what I've heard. I've never seen it, but then there was the 1999 version, which was
The Haunting. Yeah, the one with Owen Wilson and Liam Neeson.
Yeah, and there's I think there's a CinemaSins on that one, which really, because there was enough to poke fun on it. So, but the original movie was like, it was all psychological. You never saw anything actual supernatural. Mm-hmm. It was just all, you're wondering whether they're either insane or they actually are being haunted. It was a masterpiece. So, was this close?
Well, this is more based on the Shirley Jackson novel. So you do get the kind of the supernatural elements in there. Like they're there.
Okay.
And what's good about it is that it's not only that it's right in front of you, but there's so many things in the background. Like I'll tell you, every episode has hidden ghosts in it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not it's not for jump scares. They're not doing it. They're literally a character walks across, walks from one room to another, and you just see a ghost in the background, and they're just standing there watching. And it just makes every episode so much more immersive because now you're looking for things, but at the same time you're engaged in the story.
See, that's like John Carpenter. I mean, he does that kind of thing. Because the jump scares are just, at this point, they're almost funny.
Right.
You know? But having stuff just you catch out of the corner of your eye in in one quadrant of the background of what the hell was that? Wait, did I see what I thought I saw?
Right.
That's when real horror seems to be where they need to go. And a lot of people don't do that. But John Carpenter did that in the original Halloween.
Yeah.
And that's what made it so good.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? As soon as Netflix cancels all these pesky Marvel shows, I'll have plenty of time to catch up on all these others.
That was the thing I was worried. I'm watching this. While I'm watching this, I'm like, this is going to be canceled? Look how good. This is so good. Do we want to go into it? Shall we start going into it now?
No, we'll get to it. I brought a few news articles for this week to talk about, so we had a little bit more variety in our show, John, than just us bashing or loving Daredevil for an hour.
Okay.
So this just real quick. There was a new teaser for the next episode of Titans that came out, which gave us our first look at Doom Patrol. Have you guys had a chance have you seen this? And what did you think of it?
Well, I saw it, and I've talked about it, I've written about it. I'm still a little on the fence about Titans. Like there's certain scenes that are just awesome. I think I really liked the Hawk and Dove episode, but then a lot of the characterization stuff is still still up in the air for me. I'm giving it a chance because I think it's still trying to find its footing. So I don't know. Like I'm hesitant about how they're going to throw, how Doom Patrol is going to fit into this. But it looks good. It looks interesting. I like the fact that just kind of going for it instead of spending a whole lot of time just, trying to establish stuff. They're basically letting you know, hey, Doom Patrol is here. And I like the fact, I think what I really like is the fact that it seems like this season is all about Raven and Trigon.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think that the fact they found like a central theme to build a season off of, that's working for me. The character stuff, I'm still a little bit, but the overall story is interesting.
So, I actually haven't bought the DC app yet. I just know what I've been hearing from other people, and it kind of said the Titans feels a little unbalanced. Like there are some things that are really good about it, and then other things are like that made no sense. Why did they do that?
Yeah.
One of the big complaints I heard was like Beast Boy. Like it didn't make any sense that he had to take his clothes off, and then how he does the transformations isn't anything like it is in the comic books, and and he's one of my favorite characters. So if they don't get Beast Boy right, it's like, well, then why do I want to watch this show?
Well, I'll be honest with you. It almost feels like they're gonna, I guess because of their limitations that they have in this first season. I have a strange feeling that we're only going to see him turn into a tiger, because the only two things I've seen him turn in. Let's see, only thing I've seen him turn into in 2 episodes is a tiger. So like every promo, he's a tiger. So I don't know if they're going to put it in the budget where he turns into something else. Like even if they can't go bigger, maybe go smaller. Maybe let him be like a rabbit or a rat or something. But I'm with you on. I'm with you on the transformation because it looks too American Werewolf in London.
Yes, that is what I've heard over and over again.
Yeah,
are we talking Manimal here?
That is kind of what it's looking like. It looks too painful for me for some reason. It should be seamless.
Mm.
And wasn't that the big thing in Manimal too? He only either turned into like a bird or like a panther.
No, or a snake or a horse. He did a few, but the thing was that it was impractical. It's like, the bad guys here. Let me turn into this. Just give me a half an hour.
Right, because it was so slow.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm kind of waiting to hear about how they're handling Doom Patrol to like decide if I'm going to take the plunge or not at this point.
Well, from what I understand, what I read is that like since they've cast Doom Patrol for the series, for the separate series, the only character from this episode that actually is going to be in the series is April Bowlby as Elastigirl. Like she, like everyone else is being recast, including like all of the leads are being recast. Like Timothy Dalton is the leader. So I mean it's so I'm kind of taking this as a one-off appearance, and I'm not necessarily looking to see I'm not seeing it as an indication of where the Doom Patrol series is going to go.
Oh, see, that's the part I wasn't sure on. So the people, the actors in the Titans episode are not the same actors from the show.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because Brendan Fraser is going to be a robot man, and
yes.
Matt Bomer is the voice of Mr. Nobody, and they cast Alan Tudyk as the villain. I can't remember his name, but yeah, they like I said, this one seems more like a runoff to just say, hey, this is Doom Patrol, but everyone else is going to has been recast for the actual series.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
I still don't get why they're doing. I mean, I understand that budgetary constraints and those stars, might be a problem, but just this having 8 different Jokers, 5 different Batmans, it's getting a little ridiculous. And I don't know. It's maybe this is the way to go, seeing as how Marvel they couldn't do it Marvel's way, even to save their butts.
Yeah.
There is actually some Titans news that I heard that isn't on our list here.
Okay.
But I've got I haven't seen the Titans movie, the Teen Titans Go movie.
Uh-huh.
And and Dave, look, I know this is gonna be good fodder for you for the rest of our lives, but I did order it so I can watch it. I was gonna watch it ironically, but I haven't gotten it yet because I think it hasn't been released yet, but I heard that there's a trailer at the end, and the trailer is the original Teen Titans animation. The characters breaking into the broadcast saying, "We found a way back."
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's been confirmed by We Got This Covered, Monkeys Fighting Robots, IO9. Everybody says 2019 is going to be a Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
That I'll watch.
Yes, and I actually didn't go to the movies to see Teen Titans Go either, but I am going to get it as soon as it comes out because I heard there's a Stan Lee cameo in there. To me, that was the perfect thing. Of course, there's a Stan Lee cameo in the Teen Titans Go movie. So.
Yeah, I heard that.
All right. Okay, so. Well, I'll keep an eye out for that. There's also, moving on, we got Kevin Feige has teased that there's going to be a Namor, maybe or maybe not, joining the MCU soon. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Just because I'm not sure if it's going to be, people going, oh, look, they're eating them now that Aquaman is out. Or, if he's going to be taken seriously as a character.
He's quite a different character than Aquaman.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
I mean, he's mostly a villain almost, right?
Yeah, he's go ahead. No, I say, yeah, he's definitely always been more of an anti-hero.
Yeah.
I think the only time he's ever really been heroic in a sense is when he's alongside Cap. But yeah, fighting with the X-Men, but most of the time he's always kind of been leave me alone, I leave you alone type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
If you read if the characterization of him now in X-Men Red is kind of that same way where he's helping, but he's only helping mutants because he is one. And then at the same time in the new Avengers series, he's the villain. The whole new arc is he's created his own undersea Avengers, and now will not allow anyone under the ocean anymore.
Well, wait, Namor's not Namor's a mutant?
Yeah,
I didn't know he was a mutant. I thought he was their version of the King of Atlantis or whatever.
I mean, he is, but he's always been been portrayed as a mutant, because he. I think his mutant gene, he doesn't have the Aquaman thing where he has a human father and an Atlantean mother. He was was born in Atlantis, but because of his mutation, like that's what grew like the wings on his feet.
Oh, so, okay, interesting. Huh. Well, be that as it may, I'll watch it.
And it'd be also interesting now that they have the Fantastic Four back, if they would ever play with the pseudo love triangle between Sue Storm, Reed Richards, and Namor.
Well, to be honest, they gotta get Fantastic Four right first before.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah, before I'm willing to buy anybody else even coming into that world. Like I just need them to get that right. Like, get these 4 characters together and then get them a good movie, and then you can start expanding on the world that you've created. But you got to create that world first.
I'm sure that that time be the charm.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the fear is part of the fear with the Fantastic Four is being hokey, you know, and I don't know. I think you need hokey sometimes. It's why I like The Flash, you know, the Flash TV series, that is.
Well, I think part of the problem that they've always had is, especially in the movies, is that they've taken Stan's stance about them being a family, and they've taken it in the wrong directions. Like the Tim Story movies were all about, you know, he took it as, okay, they're family to the point where they're just like bickering siblings, and it wasn't funny. Like I say, honestly, the only stuff that kind of was good was the Johnny Ben stuff. Right. That was okay, but the problem is that they did it too much. And then the Josh Trank film was just I don't know. It was over. It was, you can be serious, but that was just overly serious. I don't even understand why. It was almost depressing to watch that movie.
Well, what's depressing is that apparently electric light doesn't exist in that world. Because I mean, how many people do you know work in the dark like that all the time?
Especially scientists. How do you see anything?
I know. It's like somebody light a candle, for crying out loud.
Right. Thank you. Even if they just like threw a line in, hey, we got to keep the lights down low to power the equipment, I could buy that over just being like every scene being mood lighting.
Maybe Josh Trank just has a really dark and depressing family life, and that was reflected in his movie. I don't know. Yeah. And the last little bit of news we have here, it has been confirmed by Kathleen Kennedy herself. There definitely will not be a solo Boba Fett movie. In fact, what she said is they're concentrating all of their efforts now on the new Mandalorian TV series. I'm not really sure. I'm not upset about this because I really couldn't see a need for a Boba Fett movie. You know, we kind of got that with the Clone Wars movie, so I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think?
Like, honestly, I don't care. Like the thing is, I love Star Wars, but Boba Fett has never been that interesting a character to me because I'll put it, I guess the best way I can describe it as is the legend of Boba Fett that I've created in my head is far more interesting than what I ever saw on screen. Like, just based on everyone's reactions to and conversations about Boba Fett, he seemed like a badass, but in the 2 movies I was in, he followed Han Solo, and he got thrown into a Sarlacc pit. He's been in 2 movies and has done nothing, but apparently he's the cosmic badass of all badasses.
Well, most of that comes from the Christmas special, which doesn't exist, right. And you know, I mean, they're I don't know. I think they were trying to milk it for too much, you know. And again, it all comes down to they did so well mostly with the extended universe set of books,
Mm-hmm.
and where they had so many different stories about so many different things. Yeah, a lot of them still revolved around the Skywalkers and the related characters, but they were branching out pretty well. And now we're back to, we've got an entire galaxy, but everything that of note that happens anywhere in the galaxy only happens to these 10 characters.
Right.
And it's, there's so many other things they could do. And then trying to milk it, like we're going to have all these side stories. It's like, okay, did we really need to have another Solo movie? Do we need to talk about Boba Fett is like the Joker. You shouldn't know where he comes from. He's just a badass in the background, and you could use him very well. He's a very large lever for a plot, but you don't need to know that he, when he was 5 years old, he stubbed his toe on a Jedi and hated them ever since. I mean,
right. And they ruined that. And honestly, George Lucas ruined that by having, by putting him in the prequel in the first place. Just having the whole thing where him being just a raw clone of Jango Fett. So basically you've already taken away any possibility that he's an actual person. Like he's just a clone. Mm-hmm. Like he's a clone that was he was a clone that was raised as someone's kid. Like you're not actually someone's kid. So I'd rather see a series about a brand new character and or the Mandalorians themselves. They seem a lot more interesting than Sarlacc Sam. So
Sarlacc Sam. Nice.
Agreed. All right. So now we're going to get into our main topic of the evening here. We're going to talk about Daredevil season 3.
Okay, so just to, disclaimer here. I am halfway through episode 11. So I haven't quite finished yet, but I don't care about spoilers, so we're going to talk spoilers.
Wait, before we get to spoilers.
No, I want to talk them down now.
as we always do on this show.
Always?
For the past 5 years.
It's been that long?
We go around the room, and first we give a non-spoiler reaction to the season. And we'll start with our guest, Darren.
Okay, a non-spoiler review of the season. I'd say amazing writing. Just a dense story. That's really well done. Like plotted almost perfectly.
All right.
Okay. John?
I have to back that up. There isn't one point in the episodes I've seen so far where I felt like I could get off the couch. I kept wanting to see more. And the end of every episode led straight into the next episode in a way that, it's Netflix. So you've got the remote control and you're clicking that, skip the intro, skip the, or just next episode in 5 seconds. No, that's too long. So it's really good. I mean, the storyline, as I understand, is based on a very popular storyline for Daredevil, which of course I don't know because I'm the DC guy, but whatever it is, now I have to read it because this was just amazing. And I'm a little disappointed he's not wearing his suit, but it plays into the plot in a way that fits. So, okay.
Yeah, it's based on I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's based it's loosely based on a storyline called Born Again. So I think it was written by Frank Miller. So
Frank Miller.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Okay. So, I'd say go see it. I mean, you just queue it up, make sure you clear a day and a half. I love it.
Yeah.
Now you, Dave?
All right. Well, I'm really just going to back you guys up. I think one of the things I loved most about this season is, yes, there were elements definitely taken from the comics in the first two seasons, more so in the first season, but this one, yeah, like, it's not, and Darren said it right, it's not an exact translation of Daredevil Born Again, but it's borrows heavily elements from that, plus other storylines, like the storyline of I'm not going to ruin it. So there are other storylines that were also borrowed for it, and they did it in a way that worked within what they've already built, and even felt, I guess the word is satisfying at the end. There definitely were things that were changed, and I understand why they were changed. They couldn't do some of those things in the show. But overall, yeah, like, it's possibly the best season so far. And if you haven't watched it yet, go and do so right now. So there we go. That is our spoiler-free review, guys. If you haven't watched the show yet, you're probably deep enough into our show right now to count as a download. So you can stop it right now, go watch the show and come back and listen. Or if you don't care about spoilers, here we go. So let's start a little bit with the villains, because I thought both Kingpin and Bullseye were done. Not Bullseye. Did I say Bullseye?
Yeah.
It's
I mean, it's Bullseye, but
it is Bullseye.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Dex, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's Bullseye. I mean,
yeah.
Of course,
he never officially becomes Bullseye in the show, and I think they did that on purpose as well. But yeah, so you have Dex and Kingpin. And I was going to say with Bullseye, I really loved two things about the character, and you guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. Number one, I love that they don't explain his marksmanship. It's just he's really good.
Exactly.
Like they don't need to do that. It's just something that is in him, and they show from the time he was a small kid, he was just beyond accurate.
Well, they still can't use the word mutant, so technically.
Yeah.
And I love how they did all of the psychological stuff to make you understand him as a person, like his obsessive compulsiveness, his, lost his parents, the way he was treated as a kid, like, and what built him basically to the person he is right now, and why he is an FBI agent.
Yeah, and I even loved how they did it in that episode, because normally they'll have an episode that's just kind of like, if you look at the first season of Daredevil, where they just have an episode devoted exclusively to Wilson Fisk in the past, him growing up, and every show will have like one where it's just from the villain's perspective or the villain's journey. I love the fact that in this season, yeah, we get to see a villain's journey, but it's through the eyes of another villain. Like it's Kingpin learning about this character's past. So in essence, like, he's learning the same way we are, but he's learning for reasons that are completely different than what we're learning.
And some of these flashback journeys, it's very anime-esque, I have to say. And it's done very well, and I actually like the way it happened, where you had an entire episode on Karen Page and her backstory, and then with the way they did the Fisk background story with Dex was just as literally him walking through his past,
right?
Which was pretty awesome. So. And the reason why anime does that normally is to make you care about every single character.
Right.
Sometimes it's filler, but for the most part, it usually adds to the story and adds to how deeply you care about the characters, so that they can then do horrible things to them and make you feel feels. And it worked out really well here.
Yeah. And what was even more compelling was the fact that because Fisk is is locked in this luxury suite. The fact that the whole episode, where even all of those memories are composed in that one space, like where you still feel almost it still feels almost claustrophobic, even though you're learning about different things about another character.
Right, and that was, again, it goes back to how well written this entire season was. It goes with that whole thing. He's under house arrest, and they put him in a penthouse suite in a hotel, but because he's under arrest, that he's not given any furniture at first, and so they utilize that empty space to tell the story. Yeah, just so well done. It was and John, you had mentioned the Karen Page episode. I wanted to talk about that too. Like, we've had Karen now not only through 2 seasons of Daredevil, we also had her all through the Punisher first season. And we've learned about the character a lot since we were first introduced to her. But now, they gave us a backstory on her and her motivations. And
it's heart-wrenching.
It is. I mean, you find out that the whole reason she doesn't seem to have a family is because her mother died. So her father dumps all of his money into keeping this diner open that was the mother's dream. And she wants to get out of the town, ends up dating a drug dealer, basically. And, the brother thinks he's holding her back. He wants her to go, the boyfriend's holding her back. He wants her to go to college. And one night he goes and burns the boyfriend's trailer down. And one thing leads to another. Basically, she gets into a car accident with her brother in the car, and he dies. And it's just like, then the father doesn't forgive her for it. And it's just like, wow, that's just unbelievable. Like,
the thing I found amazing about it, and this goes back to your quote about what you said about the writing, is that it was done so well that there wasn't any character doing something only for plot contrivance. Yeah. You felt like you were watching real lives take place, and everybody did what they did because of who they were and the situation they were in. And there was like you felt sorry for them for being in that situation where they didn't have any other options for the actions they took.
Right.
Yeah, and I can see that too, because I honestly, when I saw that episode coming up, I thought, well, I'd either not watch this one or breeze through it, because I did not necessarily want an episode devoted to Karen. But then I remembered, like, from the first season of Daredevil and the first season of Punisher, that there is something significant about the fact that Karen is always running. And that's, and I think, and we needed to see that in order to understand her more as a character. So we we absolutely needed to see her past in order to just kind of close that book on what she's been hiding for the last two seasons.
Ooh, and you finally get why she's always been against Matt being Daredevil.
Yeah.
Why they're always telling him, no, you can't do this. You have to stop. Even though he's doing good, even though intellectually she knows that he is good for Hell's Kitchen and has been saving people's lives, she's still telling him, really adverse to any of that.
Before we say any more, I just want to make sure we kept talking about the great writing this season. Eric Olson was the showrunner for this season, so I want to make sure we mention that and give the guy credit, because he orchestrated an amazing season. So also, spoiler, those who read Daredevil Born Again might be expecting something to happen this season. No, Karen doesn't die.
No.
Which is funny, because that is the motivating factor for why Daredevil goes after Kingpin and wants to kill him in the original comic book storyline. But we kind of start out with Fisk getting out of prison, and he didn't really have at this point he didn't know who Karen Page was or anything, so he didn't have a reason to go after her. So, basically they gave him other reasons. He was rebuilding his empire.
Well, I'll kind of disagree with you on that on a little bit,
okay.
Just a little bit, because he knew who Karen was.
True.
He knew who Karen was because he tried to have Karen killed in the first season. So
that's right. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of that.
Yeah, so he knows who they are. He knows who Karen is. He knows who Foggy is. He knows who Matt is. He didn't know Matt was Daredevil. But remember, because throughout the season, all these revelations of how Fisk has been manipulating everybody's lives for so long, like the thing with Foggy's brother and their restaurant. So he's been working this plan for a long time. And I think that's probably one of the best things about this season is that, with the exception of going after Daredevil, Kingpin kind of had the perfect plan to get his power base back. If he hadn't, honestly, if you really think about it, if he hadn't taken the time to try and both discredit and kill Daredevil, he'd be on top of the world right now. He would still be doing what he's doing.
This is true.
Because he's laid the seeds for this plan over the course of years. The only thing that tripped him up was he wanted personal vengeance.
Right. I wasn't thinking about the Wesley aspect. And actually, now that I think about it, when I was watching that episode where Karen reveals to Kingpin that she killed him, that is when I was like, okay, that's it. She's dead right here.
Yeah. And what's worse is that's what she was going for. She was hoping that he would attack her. And what's great is that that's such a tense moment on screen because it can go either way. It can literally go him choke slamming her through a brick wall, or her being saved at the last minute. So
right, yeah, that was tough to watch.
Yeah, because it was just the way they built the tension in that moment was great.
Yes. Oh. Takes guts to go against Fisk like that, I think.
But like I was saying, I think I'm so enamored with his plan and how, and I'll be honest with you, the SAC, the special agent Nadim's boss, I did not see that coming at all.
Yes.
That came out of nowhere.
You're talking about the FBI boss?
Yeah, I'm just all the people who are being controlled by Kingpin, and the fact that they're finally saying the word Kingpin. Those reveals just came out of nowhere, and I love the fact that they utilized people who have played FBI agents in other Marvel Netflix shows. A lot of those agents, in that boardroom that they were sitting in, the Asian guy was from Iron Fist. He was an FBI agent from Iron Fist. So all of these FBI agents you've seen before in other Marvel shows, and now find out they're all working for Kingpin.
Now I saw the boss being compromised from almost the moment I laid eyes on her. I mean the way I mean I don't know, something about how it was going down with him
I always thought, I think this thing, I saw Nadim being the guy that was going to be compromised. And I mean, it happens, but I thought it was going to happen earlier because it seemed like he could go to her she kind of served as his moral compass, as it were.
For 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he'd been working with her for 10 years. Right. So, yeah, but it just, I don't know. For me, it just seemed that as soon as he was starting to dig in and start dealing with Kingpin, and then he couldn't get his promotion and all that. I just figured that. But then when they start to reveal how deep it went, that's when you're like, oh shit.
Well, yeah,
they're
and
all screwed.
Oh yeah,
Well,
and that's the thing, because she kept encouraging him to go forward. Like, she kept backing him up. And I think that's the thing that kind of caught me off guard, was like, she wasn't like waving him off or telling him, don't pursue this. She was, she had his back.
right. Yeah, no, and that was the thing too. Like, with in retrospect, I'll give it to John. Right, if you look back on the show, it's like, oh, she isn't going to give him a promotion because he owes all this money. But then he cuts the deal with Kingpin. Everything goes astray. Kingpin ends up under house arrest and building his base. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, they're going to give you a promotion. And it was just like, but the reasoning why they weren't promoting him didn't change.
Right.
Like, he still owed the money. They were still afraid of him being compromised. So then it was like, if you look at that, you can sit there and go, oh, they want him to be compromised now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it was something in the way she was just letting go on everything that made me feel like, oh no, she's going to be working for him. And that was really early, like right after they introduced her character in the first couple of interactions with him. I'm like, oh no. But that may be because we're used to figuring plots out. We've got so many of those tropes underneath our belts that we can sometimes see it coming before anybody else, because it's kind of like, this can only go one of three ways, and two of those she's working for the bad guy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that was the thing too, because right before that scene, they show Fisk's fixer guy, I can't think of the character's name, show up at Dex's apartment and say, come with me. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, and you don't know where they're going. Then you have this scene where Nadeem is all tense and nervous, and he's confessing to the interviewer, the FBI interviewer, what has been going on, and you hear a gunshot go off. I'm thinking,
I thought it was Dex.
Right, I thought it was Dex, and I was thinking he either shot somebody else or he shot through the chair, and you're going to pan down and see Nadeem was shot, and it's like, oh no, the interviewer was shot, and his boss did it. It was like, yeah, you didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, no, I did, but I mean, I kind of figured if they were following him this long that they weren't going to get rid of him. It didn't seem that the writing would support killing the character off like when we're not even halfway through. But anyway, it doesn't matter because it was masterfully done.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and then of course, Nadeem ends up redeeming himself by the end of the show.
Now, I'm not quite there yet, but I read the spoiler, so that's fine. Just spit it out.
That's the thing. That's one of the things I like too, because it wasn't an easy, like it's almost again like every plan that they came up with to counter Kingpin's plan ended up failing. And it, in essence, it took, and it's almost, and because Daredevil's Catholic, it's almost kind of biblical that it took a sacrifice in order to, finally get what they needed to take him down. Because I thought it was incredibly clever, the whole dying declaration thing being admissible. I thought that was an incredibly clever way to tie up that storyline.
Right. Yeah, no, and I mean,
and they were originally thinking of keeping his character
that's what I heard,
keeping alive, and the J. Ali, I guess, the actor, he actually when they talked to him about it, he actually said, "Oh no, that character should die."
Yeah.
So, I mean,
no, it was the perfect way to wrap it up, just because of again, too, saying everything that they tried to do failed, even in the fact that they got him to flip on Fisk, go to a grand jury, and testify, and then, oh, nope, the grand jury is being controlled by Fisk, so they they vote to, or they say that they don't believe his testimony. And it was like, what do you do then? You know?
Right. It's the thing is that you have, on one hand, you have everything basically pushing Matt towards killing Fisk as the only option. Like, everything is pushing him towards it.
Yeah, snap his neck.
Right. And everyone is pushing him the other way. Like everything he sees is saying, like, and again, it's temptation on both sides. It's foggy, and everyone's saying believe in the system, believe in justice, and then everything around us with the Kingpin saying no, he has to die. It has to end this way, and that's again something that the writing manages to capture really well. Is that you see both sides. Like, there are moments in episodes where I'm like, yeah, you probably need to kill him. And then at the same time, I'm like, oh, this could possibly work. And then when it fails, it's like, yeah, kill him.
Yeah, well, that's I mean, like, again, I'm only out on 11 and a half right now, but at this point, it is another Zod moment. It's like, there is no jail that will hold this guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was in freaking jail, and we're looking at him already compromising literally like the FBI, half of the city officials, and who the hell knows who else. There's like, I mean,
and spoiler, and spoiler, he does have like a Zod speech in the last episode.
Oh, good.
Like Fisk gives a Zod speech.
And not only that, they even show he controlled the jail that he was in. Yeah. Most of the people in the jail, and so that was another thing. I think everyone knows. So there was the hallway fight in the first season, right? And it's considered like the centerpiece fight piece for the whole show.
Yeah.
And then there's the stairwell fight in season 2, with him trying to get out of the hospital, I believe it was, and fighting his way down the stairwell. This season, I thought they did an interesting job with the escape from the prison.
Yeah.
And one of the main reasons it was, I thought, really well done is he's not wearing a mask in this.
Yep.
And if you pay attention closely, a lot of the shots are from his back. So that's probably when it was a stuntman. I
don't know. Most of these shots, yet again, they are completely killing it on these action scenes.
Yeah.
A lot of these fight scenes were done all in one shot. You know, I mean, it's like it's literally, you know, we have this problem in the movies these days where action scenes are cut to hell. You know, it takes 13 cuts just to get the Taken guy over a fence. You know, but like John Wick, you know, that's another series where, and I think I forget if Daredevil came first or John Wick came first.
I think Daredevil came first.
Was it
first John Wick, I think.
Okay, so yeah, so that first stairwell scene, almost all entirely one cut. I mean, it's amazing. The fight scenes are just unbelievable in this.
Well, and I think that's the thing, is that just that whole, the fact that they used a tracking shot for so much of it, where you're just there in that moment, just makes the fight more brutal, because you're not waiting for cuts. You're not waiting for it to. You're not seeing okay, this character goes down, and then we get a close up on this, or we get a close up on this thing that he's about to pick up and use as a weapon. It's like, no, he flips a guy he flips a guy onto the table. He falls down. The other guy comes in, punches him. He falls down on the side, and then he flips and kicks the other guy, or he pushes the table till he trips it. Like, all of that stuff happening in real time raises the stakes on the actual fight itself.
And he's breathing hard, and he's acting like gravity is just dragging him down, and he's in pain. It's just, sorry to break in. It's just like, you literally, you're watching these scenes, and every time he takes a blow, you're flinching, because it's like, oh my God, that hurts.
Yeah. And the fact that he was drugged too, like, that whole time I'm wondering, how is he even going to get out of this prison? Like, that was the thing, is like, I don't not even knowing what Fisk's plan was for him when he was in there, because again, Fisk doesn't know that he's Daredevil, is how does he escape? Like, how do you escape from a jail when half the guards are there are trying to kill you?
Well, obviously, you make a deal with the Albanians.
Right, exactly.
I mean, duh. Right?
And you're not there yet, John. A really, and I thought was fun contrast, is the final fight with Daredevil, Bullseye, and Kingpin in the hotel, and I just loved when Vanessa is trying to escape and go down the steps, and you have Fisk and Daredevil fighting in the bedroom, and all of a sudden, as she's coming down the steps, they break through the wall. Right?
Like Fisk throws him through the wall.
Yeah, Fisk throws him through the wall. You didn't see any of that fighting going on because we were following Vanessa going down the steps. Just all of a sudden, Daredevil comes flying through the wall. It was just like, oh, wow. It's like the different perspective, I just enjoyed the contrast and how they did that. And it doesn't last long in that fight, but there's enough of that where you hear on the off camera, and you don't actually see the fighting in this one.
Yeah. And then just the fact that, Vanessa, if anything, Vanessa's arc made sense too. Because if you really look at it if you kind of look at her from her perspective, like, she's been on the run for all this time, and the fact that she was, like, everything she was saying about, even though she was protected, she still felt alone. Like, just, like I said, the writing it was so good this season that every character had a really great personal character arc. Mm-hmm. Like even her, even though even though she's only in 2 episodes, like, she makes such an impact in episode 12 and 13. Just like the last 2 episodes, she makes such an impact that I want to see more of her if they do a season 4.
Oh, I agree. It was tense for me because I honestly thought Bullseye was going to kill her.
Yeah.
And if things had gone a little differently, he probably would have. So that's also, again, talking about a season 4, I kind of feel like they really set something up between Bullseye and Kingpin for a season 4.
Well, that's one of the things. And again, spoiler, I know you haven't gotten there, but the whole Dr. Oyama call out in the last episode, I was just like, oh, okay, so there's your N. There's a N for mutants, because they're Dr. Oyama working on a Bullseye's spine. I mean, that's how he gets the adamantium in his skeleton, and Dr. Oyama is, of course, is Lady Deathstrike's father. So you got your kind of end to the mutant world of Marvel at the end of Daredevil season 3.
Fingers crossed.
Right.
Well, we can hope. I mean, because seriously, all of the Netflix shows seem to be canceling.
Yeah.
And this was so good. I can't imagine if they do cancel the next season of this, or they end it here, then there's no way that they can say that it's for anything other than the mouse taking back their property so they can put it on their streaming service.
Yeah, but I think that everything I've heard about the Disney streaming services is they're not going to have that kind of content. Like, they're going to go for more family-friendly stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to make it, but they should.
So my only comment to that is it kind of smells to me in the sense of the whole reason they claim they bought Fox is so they could have more content to put on their streaming service and they even said to appeal to more adults. So, I mean, that includes Simpsons and Married with Children and Family Guy. Like, stuff you would think they would never have on a app for kids. So
yeah,
are they going to have an adult section, or are they going to really maybe have two apps?
Well,
one that's for kids.
Oh no, go ahead.
One for kids and one that's more geared towards adults.
Well, before they consolidated everything to Disney Now, remember they had a Disney XD app and a Disney Junior app and a Disney Disney Channel app. So it's conceivable that the Disney Play app will be Disney, and then they'll have will be like the family friendly stuff, and then they have a separate app for all the Fox stuff they acquired and all the more adult fare.
Right. Or
okay. Well, that would be perfect because then you have to pay for two different streaming services. Yeah. That you've just uncovered their plan. I mean, how could they not do that, right?
Yeah.
Or again, the other side could be they do what DC did and have a Marvel app.
Yeah. They can do that too.
I mean, because they already announced. They also announced that they want to do a Loki and a
Scarlet Witch
TV series, and it's like, and they're going to be on the Disney app, I don't know.
Yeah, that would be Loki and his pokey stick. the Loki Pokey Hour. I don't know.
Loki Pokey Hour. Yes. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. Hey, but we got through a whole week with nothing being canceled, so fingers crossed.
That's not good.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I don't know. I'll say this again, Darren. I said this on our show, last episode, last show, but it feels like we are in the decline of this golden age of cinematic and TV universes for comic books. I mean, like the Netflix shows are dying. The writing on some of the shows for the CW is kind of getting worse. And Gotham is still on. And, and they're looking at doing Pennyworth. I mean, it feels like we're getting to a point now where it reached its peak and now we're going to be going downhill for a bit.
I think if anything, it's at some point something will self-correct. I don't know if it's necessarily a decline, but it is an oversaturation. Because I think, I agree with you. When they announced Pennyworth and then they announced another Superman-less series with Metropolis, I was like, why? Why? Why would I want to see a Metropolis series about Lex Luthor and Lois Lane with no Superman in it, and having the two of them investigating weird stuff? I don't need the Lex files. I don't know if it's necessarily a decline, but I think it's going to be an oversaturation where they're going to have to do some kind of course correction. And if anything, they're going to have to axe some stuff and rejigger some others. But I'm with you. I think honestly, I watch the CW stuff, but I really just watch up until the crossover event, and then I'm out for the rest of the season.
That's
I'm like that with everything but Flash. Flash I still watch, and I'm a sucker for Hokey.
I don't know, but it still feels like, I mean, okay, the Netflix stuff is going. It's almost time that they start looking at the Arrow at winding down the Arrow the Arrow show.
Yeah.
Because that has become a Gordian knot of angst. It's just it just seems like, I don't know. And the other thing that really disappoints me is the separation now of the Netflix Marvel universe and the cinematic universe. At this point, we should have they would have been mentioning, and remember that time when everybody was dusted or or maybe this is happening just before, but they aren't showing anything of it, and they're probably not going to mention it. And if they have the next seasons of each one of these would have to show something about that, because there's no way they couldn't for the effects of Thanos.
Well, if you think about it, they're not talking about it's all connected anymore. So I think they've just kind of slowly let that die, because they talked about how it's all connected, and then they never showed it. So I think because the audience stopped demanding it, they quietly retired ever actually saying it.
When did the audience not stop demanding it? Because I certainly never stopped demanding it, and
I don't even know if it's maybe stop demanding it isn't the right way. Like we were upset on how they were connecting them, because they, Feige's controlling the movie universe, and Perlmutter and Jeff Loeb are controlling the TV stuff, and they weren't really writing stuff to intertwine that much. So it was like you got the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. sweeping up after Thor: The Dark World, cleaning up the mess, and then you get on the Netflix shows them talking about the event in New York, but then they build to this massive event in Avengers, with the gauntlet and the snapping of the finger and people turning to dust. And how do you write that into Daredevil season 3 where it works and makes sense for the story you want to tell?
Right.
Yeah.
And then again, they haven't, and maybe demand is a little too harsh, but it is the fact that all the showrunners for these series, they were all talking about, we want, we took this and we want to take it our own way, and we're going to go our own direction and all this stuff. And that's fine, because you're getting good television, but I don't look for it as a bridge or a connection to the MCU anymore. I just don't. Yeah. Until somebody walks past the Sanctum Sanctorum, I just,
all right. So last thing or get back on the show a little bit. So we didn't really talk about, Sister Maggie, being introduced in this season.
Yeah, that was,
hello?
Yeah.
Oh, we lost you.
We lost you. You said that was, and then you cut off.
There. Can you hear me?
Now.
Okay, good. Yes. I would see that's how big a spoiler it was that somebody cut my mic. So it just, when she said what she said and he heard it down in the basement, it was like, you're who with the what now?
Yeah.
All right. So for those of us who read Daredevil comics growing up, we all knew that was his mother.
I didn't.
Well, you didn't read Daredevil comics when you were a kid. And so, and again, Born Again is the story where that is revealed. So yeah, I don't know. I thought they handled it well. They did a good job of explaining why she never told him. But I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think, it works with the character Daredevil, but how would you react if all of a sudden you found out, you knew your mother your whole life, but you didn't know it was your mother?
Well, I think the first thing would be you're a nun. Something doesn't add up here.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think somebody probably would have needed to, if anything, my first reaction would be, okay, now explain. I need to know more.
Yeah. But I mean, it worked well. And then just the way they interacted, and you could tell, she did a good job of portraying that she felt guilty, for not ever telling him, but still knew she couldn't tell him. And at the same time, she's trying to be motherly to him.
Mm.
Yeah, I definitely got that. I think that was you got that sense that she. You always got the sense in the scenes that she's in that she wanted to say something more than what she was saying, but she was trying to protect herself. Like, I think she was trying to protect herself from being too motherly because she didn't know how he would react. And she said it herself. Like, she honestly says, at some point I just realized I was a coward and didn't know how to react to you. So I think there was always that there were probably those moments where she wanted to say something, but she was so I would say she kind of always felt like there was never a good time anymore. And she actually said because at what point would it have made a difference when she said, I'd say, well, maybe before a blind assassin took him under his wing, that might have been a moment to intervene, but
maybe when he's beating up kids when he was under their wing at the church.
Thank you. Maybe the first time you look up and see him hanging from the cross over your building. Like, you know what? We should talk.
Yeah, well, if not the first, at least then definitely the second. Really,
right? Exactly. It's like, oh, this is going to be a habit. We should sit down.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter how afraid you are of being a helicopter parent, there is a time and a place.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. But, I thought, again, well done. Great acting, by Joanne Whalley.
Mm-hmm.
Just beautifully done. It and as somebody who grew up Catholic and understands, Catholic guilt very well, like, all of those emotions I thought were portrayed very well in the show as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything? What, John?
Nothing. Former Catholic here. Yeah, I get the guilt thing too. They handled that very well as well.
I think this was in the show the line that I really loved. About if he could go back and change things, and Maggie goes, if God allowed us to go back and change things, we would never move forward. We'd always be constantly correcting our mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh wow, that is such a perfect line. Like,
yeah,
like it makes perfect sense. I love that.
Yep.
Well, without mistakes, you never learn. So
exactly. Cool. So
by that measure, they're all geniuses on the show by now.
So is there anything else you guys want to add?
No, I'm good. Like I said, I want a season 4 of Daredevil, but at the same time, like I don't know if I'm less trusting of Netflix to be the steward of it. So
what about Netflix makes you not trust them specifically?
Well, here's the thing: I think because I think that Netflix is starting to go for their own IPs, and that's great. Mm-hmm. That I'm absolutely fine with. It's not a question of my not my dropping Netflix. I don't think that they'll cultivate additional seasons of Marvel shows the way they will their own properties. So I think, yeah.
It's funny because I looked back on our news articles that we went over, and like 3 weeks ago, Jeff Loeb came out and was like, there's definitely going to be a Defenders season 2.
Yeah.
And then the following week they canceled Iron Fist, and the week after that they canceled Luke Cage, and it's like, what's going on,
I think that's one of the things where you got the guys who are at Marvel who are talking about this stuff, but the problem is that they're dealing with outside entities. I equated that whole thing with the whole when Amy Pascal started talking about Sony Spider-Man deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like sitting like all the crap she said sitting next to Kevin Feige that he then had to turn around and clean up later. Like I think that's part of the issue is that they're still, they have such a well-run machine at Marvel right now, but they're still having to deal with like third parties and outside entities. And I think that's where the message gets truncated or changed.
Well, they're also having a few missteps of their own.
Oh, no.
Galaxy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, and they just announced that that's on hold. It's still on hold indefinitely. Yeah, it's, well, I mean, it's also why Marvel 10 years ago started their own movie company, because they were having issues with dealing with all these third-party companies. So they said, screw it, we're going to start our own company. And they gave us Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk. And then Disney went, all right, we're going to buy you.
Well, that's even with that. They still had to deal with, because the first Iron Man was Paramount. And Incredible Hulk was Lionsgate. So they still had to deal with, even though they had the studio, they still had to deal with other studios doing the distribution.
True.
So just like the fact that Disney took that and put all of it under their umbrella, and gave them the autonomy to keep doing what they were doing. Like it says something about the plan that they had for the studio, for Marvel Studios.
Oh yeah. All right, so I think on that, we can now go around the room and everyone give your final thoughts on Daredevil Season 3, and then a rating, 1 through 10 capes, or 1 through 10 chandelier glasses that you can throw at someone. And of course,
that was awesome.
And of course, we'll start with our guest, Darren.
Well, my final thoughts on the season are the culmination of everything that they've built for the last 2 seasons. Like it comes together in such a great way in season 3. There's such amazing writing. Everyone is at the top of their form, character wise and acting wise, and it's great across the board. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 capes. Okay.
8 out of 10 capes.
All right, Johnny boy.
Really, this was the smoothest storytelling I've seen yet out of the Netflix Marvel properties. There was no point at which I felt like I could take a break. I wanted to continue on and keep watching the next episode and the next episode, because the storytelling was just that good. All the characters matched up with their profiles. They weren't doing anything for plot contrivance. There were no Deus Ex Machinas. There were no Mary Sues. It was just the choreography for the fights was just brutal and gritty and heavy, and the emotional angst, the emotional trauma some of these characters were showing was, not fun. It was fun to watch, but you were also feeling it, which again comes back to how well they wrote this and shot it. I'm gonna have to give this, 9 out of 10 horns. Which is ironic because he did not have his costume anymore, technically, on this show.
This is true. Only in the flashbacks in the beginning.
Yep.
All right. Cool. My thoughts. Well, I guess
nobody cares about your thoughts. That's it. We're ending. No, go ahead.
Wow. Sadly, this will be John's last episode. Anyway.
That's okay. I'm dying.
Like I said, I loved they borrowed enough from the comics and did enough of their own thing to really make it work. You know, it's one of the reasons I loved Civil War, the movie, so well. Like, yeah, they couldn't do the big full battle scenes like they had in the comic, but with what they had, they made the story work, and they gave us the visuals from the comics that we loved. Same thing here, you know, like, yes, this isn't an exact translation of Mark Millar's story, but it's enough that it's like, yeah, I definitely feel the inspiration from it. And yeah, the like you said, the fight choreography was amazing. The writing is on point. All the acting in this one is really good. And hopefully we will get a season 4. And that we won't lose the greatness they've set up, because, you know, they set up some interesting stuff in Iron Fist and Luke Cage. I'm afraid we're not going to see. So, yeah, I am just, you know, I'm ready for season 4. I loved it. So I'm going to give it, I'm going to say 8.5, you know, yeah, 8.5 capes. I'm going to stick with capes because that's my thing. Out of 10. So, you know, and all I can say is if you haven't watched it yet and you got this far in the episode, I don't know what's wrong with you. But go and watch it now before Netflix takes it off, because it's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. And again, can you tell the fans where they can find you online and the Super Powered Fancast?
Well, you can find Super Powered Fancast on Twitter at Super Powered Fan. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere you get your podcasts from. And you can go to my website, superpoweredfancast.com. It is updated daily. I have latest news, reviews, just everything from a geek fan perspective.
All right, cool. Yeah, and definitely go check them out. Like I said, some great shows, some really great interviews, and I definitely think you'll enjoy them because I enjoy them. So on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for listening, and don't let your cape get caught in the door. Have a good week.